I woke up in darkness, unable to move, struggling to breathe. The air was stale and thick. My hands touched silk padding above me, smooth wood on the sides. That's when I realized where I was. I was in a coffin. And my own funeral. I could hear voices above ground, muffled but distinct. My husband's voice. My sister's voice. My parents crying. "Thank you all for coming," my husband Derek said, his voice cracking with emotion. "Rebecca was the love of my life. Losing her to that car accident has destroyed me." Liar. I wasn't in a car accident. He'd pushed me down the stairs when I'd confronted him about the affair. I'd seen him with my sister Claire in our bedroom. When I tried to leave, he'd grabbed me at the top of the staircase. One shove. That's all it took. "But Rebecca would want us to celebrate love, not mourn it," Derek continued. "Which is why I'm doing something that might seem shocking, but feels right in my heart." No, he wouldn't. Claire has been my rock through this tragedy. She's helped me understand that Rebecca would want us to be happy. She'd want us to find love again. I heard my sister's voice, tearful and sweet. "Derek and I have tried to fight our feelings. We felt so guilty. But love can't be denied. And I know my sister, she was generous and kind. She'd understand." I was screaming but no sound came out. I was pounding on the coffin lid but my hands made no impact. So today, after we lay Rebecca to rest, Claire and I are going to honor her memory by getting married. Right here in this same venue. Because life is too short to waste, and love is too precious to ignore. The crowd gasped. Some people objected. But my mother's voice cut through. "It's what Rebecca would have wanted. Claire, come here, sweetie." I was buried alive while my husband married my sister at my funeral. The last thing I felt before everything went black was absolute rage and betrayal so profound it burned through my chest. Then I opened my eyes. I was standing in a white wedding dress, holding a bouquet of white roses, staring at myself in a full-length mirror. My sister Claire stood beside me in a pale blue bridesmaid dress, fussing with my veil. "You look perfect," Claire said, her voice sugary sweet. "Derek is going to cry when he sees you." I stared at her through the mirror. She was 23, beautiful, smiling that smile I'd always thought was genuine. The smile of a sister who loved me. But I knew the truth now. I knew that in 3 years she'd sleep with my husband. I knew that in 5 years she'd help him push me down the stairs. I knew that she'd marry him at my funeral while I was being lowered into the ground. "Rebecca." Claire touched my shoulder. "Are you okay? You look pale." I was 25 years old, standing in a bridal suite at the Grand Hotel, about to marry Derek Morrison. In my previous life I'd been so happy on this day. I thought I was marrying my soulmate. I'd been a fool. "I need a minute," I said, my voice shaking. "Cold feet." Claire laughed. "Come on, Becca. You love Derek. This is your fairy tale moment. Get out." Claire's smile faltered. "What?" "Get out of my room. Now." "Rebecca, what's wrong?" I said, "Get out." My voice came out as a scream that surprised us both. Claire backed toward the door, her face a mask of hurt confusion. Okay, I'll give you space. But Becca, you're getting married in 20 minutes. Pull yourself together." She left. I locked the door and collapsed on the floor, my wedding dress pooling around me. I'd been reborn. Somehow, impossibly, I'd been given a second chance. But not to save my marriage. To stop it from ever happening. I had 20 minutes to decide. Walk down that aisle and live through 5 years of betrayal before dying, or walk away and build a completely different life. In my previous timeline, I'd married Derek at 25. We'd seemed happy for the first 2 years. I'd been working as a graphic designer. He'd been climbing the corporate ladder at his father's company. We'd been building a life together. House in the suburbs, talks about babies, dreams of growing old together. But I'd never noticed the signs. The way he always compared me unfavorably to Claire. The way he'd encouraged me to stay close to my sister, to confide in her, to make her part of our marriage. The way he'd undermined my confidence while building hers. By year 3, Claire had moved into our guest room temporarily after a breakup. She'd never left. By year 4, I'd caught them together. When I'd confronted them, they'd both acted like I was overreacting. Just a moment of weakness. It didn't mean anything. It would never happen again. I'd believed them. I'd forgiven them. I tried harder to be a good wife. By year 5, I was dead. I stood up, looked at myself in the mirror, and made my decision. I walked out of the bridal suite, down the hallway, and straight to the hotel exit. I was still wearing my wedding dress, still holding my bouquet, but I didn't care. Rebecca! My mother's voice echoed down the hallway. Where are you going? The ceremony starts in 15 minutes. I kept walking. Rebecca! Now it was my father. What are you doing? I pushed through the exit door and stepped into the parking lot. The morning sun was blindingly bright after the dim interior of the hotel. Rebecca, stop. Claire ran after me in her bridesmaid dress. What's happening? Are you having a panic attack? I turned to face her. She looked genuinely concerned. She looked like a sister who cared. But I'd heard her voice at my funeral. I'd heard her marry my husband hours after burying me. I'm not marrying Derek, I said. Claire's face went through shock, confusion, and then something else. Something that looked almost like calculation. Becca, you're just nervous. Every bride gets cold feet. This isn't cold feet. This is me realizing I'm about to make the biggest mistake of my life. You love Derek. Do I? Or did I just convince myself I did because everyone expected it? My parents caught up to us, both looking panicked. Rebecca, what is this about? My father demanded. We have 200 guests waiting inside. Derek's family is here. This is humiliating. I'm sorry, I said. But I can't do this. Can't or won't. My mother's face was flushed with anger and embarrassment. Do you have any idea what this will do to our reputation? To the family? I don't care about reputation. I care about not marrying the wrong person. Derek is perfect for you. Claire insisted. He's successful, handsome, from a good family. Then you marry him, I interrupted. The words hung in the air. Claire's face went carefully blank. What? If Derek is so perfect, Claire, you marry him. You clearly want to. That's crazy, Claire said, but her voice had changed. Less concerned, more defensive. Why would you say something like that? Because I'd heard you pledge your love to him at my funeral, I thought. Because I know you're going to sleep with him the moment you get the chance. Because I know you've always wanted everything I have. But I couldn't say that. It sounded insane. I just know, I said. Call it intuition. Call it a premonition. Call it whatever you want. I'm not marrying him. I started walking toward the street. My father grabbed my arm. Rebecca, you are not leaving. You are going to go back inside, put on a smile, and marry that man. We've spent $50,000 on this wedding. His father is my biggest business partner. You will not humiliate this family. I looked at my father, the man who in my previous life had never questioned why his daughter died so young. The man who'd walked Claire down the aisle at my funeral without a second thought. Let go of me, I said quietly. You're being selfish and childish. I said let go. Something in my voice made him release me. I walked to the curb and hailed a taxi. Where are you going? My mother called after me. You don't even have your purse. Your phone. Away from here, I said. The taxi pulled up. The driver looked confused at the bride in full wedding regalia, but I got in anyway. Where to, miss? The airport. As we drove away, I saw Derek run out of the hotel, still in his tuxedo, looking frantically around. He saw my taxi and started running after it, shouting my name. I didn't look back. At the airport, I bought a ticket to Seattle with the emergency credit card I kept in my bra. A habit from college that had apparently survived into my wedding day. I was still wearing my wedding dress. People stared. I didn't care. On the plane, I finally had time to think. I destroyed my wedding, humiliated my family, and abandoned my entire life in one morning. But I was alive. And I was free. When I landed in Seattle, I used my credit card to rent a modest hotel room and buy basic clothes. Then I called the one person I knew I could trust, my college best friend Maria, who I'd lost touch with in my previous timeline because Derek hadn't liked her. Becca. Maria sounded shocked when she answered. Aren't you getting married today? I left him at the altar. Silence. Then. Holy shit. Are you okay? Where are you? Seattle. Can I crash with you for a while? Of course. But Becca, what happened? I realized I was about to marry someone who would eventually destroy me. So I left. How did you realize that? I couldn't tell her the truth, that I'd lived through it and died. So I said, "Sometimes you just know." Maria picked me up from the hotel that evening. She'd moved to Seattle 3 years ago for a job in tech. And I'd barely kept in touch because Derek had always found reasons why visiting her was inconvenient. "You look different," Maria said as I got in her car. "Now wearing jeans and a hoodie instead of a wedding dress. I feel different." Good different or bad different? Free different. Over the next few weeks, I stayed with Maria and slowly rebuilt my life from scratch. My parents called constantly, begging me to come home to apologize to Derek to fix the mess I'd made. I blocked their numbers. Derek called from different phones, leaving messages that ranged from confused to angry to desperate. I blocked those too. Claire sent texts. "Please call me. I'm worried about you. I love you." Whatever I did, I'm sorry. I deleted them without responding, because I knew the truth. In my original timeline after I'd died, Claire had posted on social media about how she'd always loved Derek but never acted on it, out of respect for me. How she'd been tortured by her feelings. How my death had freed them both to finally be together. She'd painted herself as a tragic figure, and everyone had believed her. Not this time. Maria helped me find a job at a small design agency. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I rented a tiny studio apartment. I started therapy to process the anxiety that had caused my dramatic wedding exit. I didn't tell my therapist about being reborn, but I told her about growing up with a sister who'd always been jealous, about a relationship where I'd felt controlled, about parents who valued appearance over my happiness. "It sounds like leaving was the healthiest choice you've ever made," Dr. Stevens said during our third session. "Then why do I feel so guilty?" "Because you were raised to prioritize other people's feelings over your own. Breaking that pattern is hard, even when it's necessary." 6 months after leaving my wedding, I was settling into my new life when I got a message from an unknown number. "Becca, it's Derek. Please don't block this number. I need to talk to you. Not about us getting back together. Just to understand why you left. You owe me that much." I didn't know him anything, but I was curious about what he'd say, so I agreed to a video call. Derek looked terrible, thinner, older, exhausted. "Thank you for agreeing to talk," he said. "You have 5 minutes. Why did you leave?" "Because I didn't want to marry you." "But you did want to marry me. Right up until the moment you didn't. What changed?" I could have told him the truth, that I died in a future where he'd murdered me and married my sister. Instead I said, "I realized you didn't actually love me. You loved the idea of me. The successful wife who made you look good." Derek's face shifted. "That's not true. Isn't it? Tell me, Derek. What's my favorite book?" Silence. "What's my biggest dream? The thing I want more than anything?" More silence. "What's my favorite childhood memory? What am I afraid of? What makes me truly happy?" We were together for 3 years. Of course I know those things." "Then tell me." He couldn't. Because he'd never cared enough to ask. "I thought so," I said. "You don't know me, Derek. You never did. You just wanted a wife who looked good at company events and didn't challenge you." "That's not fair." "You're right. It's not fair. It's just true." I paused. "How's Claire?" His face went white. "What?" "My sister. How is she? I assume she's been your shoulder to cry on through this difficult time." "Becca, it's not like that." "So you haven't been spending time with her?" "She's been supportive, yes, but..." "Are you sleeping with her?" "No. God, no. She's your sister." I didn't believe him. But it didn't matter. In this timeline, I wouldn't be around to catch them. "Goodbye, Derek. Don't contact me again." I ended the call and blocked the number. 1 year after leaving my wedding, I was promoted to senior designer. 2 years after, I was art director. My life in Seattle was everything my life with Derek had never been. Challenging, fulfilling, entirely mine. I dated occasionally but never seriously. I'd learned my lesson about trusting too quickly. Maria became like a sister to me. A real one, who celebrated my successes instead of resenting them. And I didn't think about Derek, Claire, or my parents at all. Until my phone rang with a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Rebecca? It's Aunt Helen. My mother's sister. We'd been close when I was a child." "Aunt Helen. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Rebecca, I need to tell you something. It's about your sister. I don't want to hear about Claire. She's getting married. My stomach dropped. To Derek. Yes. The wedding is in 3 months. Your parents are thrilled. Of course they are. Rebecca, I think you should know, Claire has been telling everyone that you abandoned Derek because you were mentally unstable. That you were jealous of her and projected your insecurity onto innocent interactions between them. I laughed bitterly. Of course she did. She's also been posting online about how she and Derek found comfort in each other after your betrayal. She's making herself look like a saint and you look like a villain. Let her. You're not going to defend yourself? No. The people who believe her were never really my people anyway. For what it's worth, Aunt Helen said quietly, I never believed her. I know my nieces. You were always the genuine one. Claire was always the performer. After we hung up, I sat with the information for a while. In my original timeline, they'd waited until after I died to be together. In this timeline, they'd only waited 2 years. The timeline was collapsing faster without me in it. 3 months later, on the day of Claire and Derek's wedding, I received a group text accidentally sent to me, probably from Claire's new number. The message read, "Can't believe I'm finally marrying the love of my life. Thank you all for supporting us through this difficult time. Rebecca may have given up on Derek, but I never will. 2 hearts." The group chat was full of friends and family congratulating her. My mother wrote, "We're so proud of you, Claire. You and Derek are perfect for each other. I'm just sorry it took such a tragedy for you to find happiness." Tragedy. That's what they called my escape. A tragedy. I turned off my phone and went to work. That evening, Maria found me at my desk, staring at nothing. "You heard about the wedding," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah. Are you okay?" "I'm great. They're perfect for each other. They deserve each other." "Becca. I mean it. Let them be miserable together." I got out. That's what matters. But that night I dreamed about my funeral. About waking up in the coffin. About hearing them get married while I suffocated underground. I woke up screaming. 5 years after leaving my wedding, which would have been the year of my death in my original timeline, I met someone. His name was James. He was a therapist who specialized in family trauma, and we met at a mental health conference where I was presenting designs for a wellness app. "Your work is beautiful," he said after my presentation, "but also deeply personal. These designs come from someone who understands pain." "Is that your professional opinion?" "It's my human observation." We had coffee, then dinner, then more dinners. James was nothing like Derek. He asked questions, listened to answers, saw me as a complete person instead of an accessory to his life. "You're different from most people I date," he said after 3 months together. "How so?" "You're very guarded. Like you're waiting for me to disappoint you." "Maybe I am. Want to talk about it?" I told him about Derek, not the rebirth part but the escape. The family that had chosen reputation over my well-being. The sister who'd always competed with me. The feeling that I dodged a bullet I couldn't quite see. "You didn't dodge a bullet," James said thoughtfully. "You saw the gun being loaded and you ran. That takes incredible instinct and courage. Or paranoia and self-destruction. Have you considered that both can be true? That you might have been right about Derek and the relationship, but the way you left created trauma you're still carrying." I had. Every day. James and I dated for 2 years before he proposed. Not in a grand gesture, but during a quiet dinner at home. "I don't need to marry you," he said. "I love you regardless. But if you want to build a legal partnership, share our lives officially, I'd be honored. If you don't, I understand. Marriage clearly holds complicated associations for you." I walked away from my first wedding in a white dress. I know. I don't have a relationship with my family. They'd never come to ours. I know that too. And I'll probably have panic attacks during the planning. We'll handle it together. I said yes. Our wedding was small. Just Maria, James's family, some close friends, and my Aunt Helen. We got married in a botanical garden. I wore a simple blue dress. There was no drama, no betrayal, no regrets. Just joy. 7 years after leaving my first wedding, I got a message from Claire. "Rebecca, I know you probably hate me. But I'm pregnant and having complications. The doctors say it might be my only chance to have a baby. Mom gave me your number. I need to ask you something. I didn't respond for 2 days. Finally, curiosity won. What do you need to ask? Are you willing to donate eggs? We're the same blood type. The doctors say it's my best chance. I stared at the message for a long time. In my original timeline, I died never knowing that Claire couldn't have children. But suddenly so many things made sense. Her obsession with Derek, her need to take everything from me, her competition that had always felt deeper than normal sibling rivalry. She'd wanted my life because she couldn't have her own. No, I wrote back. Please, Rebecca. I'm begging you. I've already lost so much time. The doctors say if this doesn't work, I'll never be able to have biological children. That's not my problem. I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister when you chose to marry the man I was supposed to marry. When you convinced everyone I was mentally unstable. When you turned our parents against me. I was wrong. I admit it. But I was young and stupid and jealous. I've changed. Please give me a chance to prove it. Prove it to someone else. I blocked her number and told James about the conversation. How do you feel? He asked. Relieved. Free. A little sad. Sad because she could have chosen differently. She could have been a real sister. Instead, she chose to be my competition. And now she's paying the price. That's not your fault. I know. But it's still sad. 10 years after leaving my wedding, I was 45 years old, successful in my career, happily married, and finally at peace with my decision. Then Aunt Helen called again. Rebecca, I thought you should know. Your mother is in the hospital. She had a stroke. I felt nothing. Is she going to survive? The doctors think so, but she's asking for you. She can ask all she wants. Rebecca. Aunt Helen, I love you. But my mother made her choice 10 years ago when she tried to force me to marry a man I didn't love. When she believed Claire's lies about me. When she chose reputation over my well-being. I have nothing to say to her. She's your mother. Biology doesn't trump behavior. 3 days later, I got a package from my mother. Inside was a letter. Rebecca, I may not survive this stroke. If I die, I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not for trying to stop you from leaving your wedding. I still think you could have handled that better. But for believing Claire when she painted you as mentally unstable. For allowing her to control the narrative. For choosing her version of events over giving you a chance to explain. Claire has not been the daughter I thought she'd be. Her marriage to Derek has been difficult. They fight constantly. She's bitter and angry all the time. I see now that you were right about them. But I was a coward. It was easier to believe Claire's lies than to admit I'd been wrong about Derek, wrong about the wedding, wrong about pressuring you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally see the truth. Mom. I read the letter 3 times, then showed it to James. Do you want to see her? He asked. I don't know. What would it accomplish? Nothing. She's sorry now because her perfect daughter turned out to be imperfect. She's not sorry for what she did to me. She's sorry she was wrong about Claire. So you're not going? No. I'm not going. My mother survived the stroke but never fully recovered. She spent the last years of her life partially paralyzed, cared for primarily by my father. Claire, according to Aunt Helen, had become her mother's primary visitor, dutiful and attentive, the perfect devoted daughter. I wondered if my mother recognized the irony. 15 years after leaving my wedding at age 50, I got the news that my father had died. Heart attack. Quick and painless. The funeral invitation came from Claire, not my mother. I know we haven't spoken in years, Claire wrote in an email. But this is Dad. You should be here. I wasn't going to attend. But James surprised me. I think you should go, he said. Why? Because you might regret not going. Not because of Claire or your mother, but because of you. You might need closure. So I went. The funeral was small. My father hadn't been a popular man. Too focused on work, too controlling, too concerned with appearances. Claire saw me from across the funeral home and froze. She looked older, harder. There were lines around her eyes and mouth that hadn't been there in the wedding photos I'd seen online. She was still beautiful, but it was a cold beauty now. Derek stood beside her, and he looked even worse, overweight, balding, tired. He saw me and quickly looked away. My mother was in a wheelchair, unable to speak clearly due to the stroke. When she saw me, she started crying. I felt nothing. During the service, Claire gave a eulogy about what a wonderful father he'd been. It was a performance, polished, practiced, hollow. When it was over, Claire approached me. "Thank you for coming. I came for me, not for you." "Fair enough." She paused. "You look happy." "I am. I'm glad." "Really?" But her eyes told a different story. They were full of envy and bitterness. "How's married life?" I couldn't resist asking. Claire's face tightened. "It's fine. Just fine. Rebecca, I know you think I stole your life, but you don't know what it's been like. Derek is difficult. He compares me to you constantly. Everything I do, he tells me how you would have done it better. Living in your shadow is exhausting. Then maybe you shouldn't have married someone who was in love with his idea of me." "He wasn't in love with you. He was in love with control. With having someone who wouldn't question him." Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. "I thought I could be happy with him. I thought having the husband, the house, the life I always wanted would be enough. But it's not. Nothing is ever enough because I can't give him the one thing he actually wants." "What's that?" "A child. Our child. He wants me to be you, and when I can't, he resents me for it. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad." "I'm sorry that you're unhappy," I said. "But that's the life you chose." "I know." Claire looked at me with something that might have been genuine remorse. "I destroyed our relationship for a man who doesn't even really want me. I was so jealous of you that I couldn't see I was building my own prison." "Why were you jealous?" "You were the beautiful one. The artistic one. The one everyone fawned over. But you were the smart one. The capable one. The one who didn't need validation from everyone around her. You were complete on your own. I never was." We stood there for a moment. Two sisters who'd chosen completely different paths from the same starting point. "I should go," I said. "Rebecca, can I ask you something?" "What?" "How did you know? On your wedding day. How did you know Derek was wrong for you?" I could have told her the truth. That I'd died and been reborn. That I'd lived through her betrayal once already. Instead, I said, I paid attention to how he made me feel. Small. Controlled. Never quite good enough. And I realized that was the opposite of love. Claire nodded slowly. "I should have paid attention too." "Yeah, you should have." I left the funeral and never looked back. 20 years after leaving my wedding at age 55, I received news that Claire had died. Prescription drug overdose. The official ruling was accidental, but Aunt Helen suspected otherwise. She'd been depressed for years. Aunt Helen told me over the phone. "Derek left her 5 years ago for a younger woman. Your mother died last year." Claire was alone. What about friends? Other family? She'd alienated everyone. She'd spent so many years being jealous and bitter that people stopped wanting to be around her. I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Sadness for the sister Claire could have been. Relief that she was no longer a source of potential drama. And something like pity for a life wasted on envy. James found me sitting quietly in our garden that evening. "Are you okay?" he asked. "My sister died." "I'm sorry." "I'm not sure I am." "Is that terrible?" "It's honest. You're allowed to have complicated feelings about someone who hurt you." She was miserable, James. Her entire adult life was miserable, because she wanted what I had instead of building her own happiness. That's not your fault. I know. But it's still tragic. Will you go to the funeral? I thought about it. No. I said goodbye to Claire 20 years ago. I don't need to do it again. Claire's funeral, according to Aunt Helen, was poorly attended. Derek didn't come. My mother was already dead. Most of the family stayed away. In her will, Claire left me a letter. Rebecca, if you're reading this, I'm dead. I don't know if you'll even care. Why would you? I destroyed our relationship for a man who never really loved either of us. I've spent the last 20 years living with regret. Regret that I seduced your fiancé. Regret that I turned our parents against you. Regret that I married Derek and spent 15 miserable years in a marriage built on lies. But my biggest regret is simpler than that. I regret not being a real sister to you. You were always kind to me. You shared everything. You celebrated my successes. And I repaid you with jealousy and betrayal. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About Derek, about our relationship, about everything. You walked away from that wedding and built a good life. I walked toward it and destroyed mine. I hope you're happy, Rebecca. I genuinely do. At least one of us should be. Claire. I read the letter once, showed it to James, and then filed it away. Do you forgive her? James asked. I make peace with who she was. That's different from forgiveness. What's the difference? Forgiveness implies she deserves to be released from guilt. Making peace means I'm releasing myself from carrying her choices. That's wise. That's therapy, I said with a small smile. 25 years after leaving my wedding, I was 60 years old, semi-retired, and living a life I could never have imagined on that morning when I'd walked away in a white dress. James and I had built a life rich with meaning. Travel, friendships, creative projects, volunteer work. We'd chosen not to have children, and I'd never regretted it. We were sitting on our porch one evening when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Rebecca Morrison? This is attorney Sarah Chun. I'm calling about Derek Morrison. I'm not Rebecca Morrison anymore. I never took his name. What about Derek? I'm sorry to inform you that Mr. Morrison passed away yesterday. Heart attack. I'm handling his estate, and there's something you need to know. We've been divorced, well, we were never married, for 25 years. Why would I need to know anything about his estate? Because he left you a letter. And because his daughter has questions about you. My blood ran cold. His daughter? Yes. Emily Morrison, age 19. Claire's daughter, though apparently there's some question about her biological parentage. Derek's letter explains. Can we meet? We met at a cafe in my city. I refused to travel back to where I'd grown up. Attorney Chun was a professional woman in her 40s, carrying a briefcase full of documents. Before I give you this letter, she said, I need to explain something. Emily Morrison is biologically yours. The world tilted. What? Apparently, when Claire couldn't conceive naturally, she underwent IVF using donor eggs. She never told anyone who the donor was. But Derek's letter claims the eggs were stolen from you without your consent during a medical procedure years ago. I felt sick. That's impossible. I never donated eggs. Did you ever have any gynecological procedures? Ovarian cyst removal, endometriosis treatment, anything like that? I thought back. When I was 28, I had a procedure to remove fibroids. But I was living in Seattle. Derek and Claire were nowhere near me. Derek's letter explains. Apparently, he stayed in contact with your gynecologist, Dr. Foster, who was a family friend. Derek convinced him to harvest and preserve your eggs during the procedure without your knowledge. That's illegal. Very. Dr. Foster lost his license when this came to light after Derek's death. There's a whole criminal investigation. I couldn't breathe. So Claire's daughter is genetically yours. Emily knows. Claire told her before she died. Derek apparently felt guilty and wanted Emily to know the truth. Why didn't he tell her while Claire was alive? According to his letter, he was afraid Claire would hurt herself if the truth came out. He was also afraid you'd sue him. I should sue him. I should sue his estate, his memory, everything. You absolutely could. But Emily wants to meet you first. She's been through a lot, losing her mother to suicide, discovering her father wasn't really in love with that mother, learning she was conceived through stolen eggs. She's struggling. I thought about this girl, this young woman, who carried my DNA but wasn't my daughter, who'd been raised by the sister who'd betrayed me, and the man who'd wanted to control me. Does she know about the wedding? About me leaving? She knows everything. Derek's letter was comprehensive. He documented the whole history. I think he wanted Emily to understand that her mother was troubled, that their marriage was built on betrayal, that none of it was Emily's fault. I need time to think. Of course. But Rebecca, Emily is a good kid. None of this was her choice. And she's asking for one thing, to meet her biological mother once before you decide whether to have a relationship. I went home and told James everything. This is insane, he said. They stole your genetic material. That's assault. That's theft. That's... That's Claire, I interrupted. She always took what she wanted. Are you going to meet this girl? I don't know. She's not my daughter. I didn't carry her. I didn't raise her. I had no say in her existence. But she's biologically yours. Biology isn't everything. I know. But it's something. I thought about it for 3 days. Finally, I agreed to meet Emily. We met at a neutral location, a quiet park. Emily was tall, with dark hair and green eyes. My eyes. My mother's eyes. She stood when she saw me approaching, looking nervous and hopeful and scared all at once. Miss Harrison? Call me Rebecca. I'm Emily. We sat on a bench, both of us unsure how to start. Thank you for meeting me, Emily said finally. I know this is weird. I know you don't owe me anything. Your lawyer said you wanted to meet once before I decided anything. I did. I just wanted to see you. To know where I came from biologically. She paused. My mom, Claire, she wasn't a good mother. She was angry all the time. Me at dad at the world. She'd tell me stories about her perfect sister who'd abandoned everyone. I grew up thinking you were the villain. And now I've read Dad's letter. I know the truth. You didn't abandon anyone. You saved yourself. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I wish she'd saved herself too. Maybe if she had, she wouldn't have spent my entire childhood being miserable. I'm sorry you had a difficult childhood. It wasn't your fault. None of this was your fault. Emily wiped her eyes. I don't want anything from you. I'm not here to ask for money or a relationship or anything. I just wanted to meet you. To see the person I came from. To know that there's someone in my genetics who had the courage to walk away from something that was destroying them. I felt something crack in my chest. You're articulate and thoughtful. That's all you, Emily. Not genetics. Maybe. But I like knowing I come from someone strong. We talked for 2 hours. Emily told me about college. She was studying social work, wanting to help kids from difficult families. She told me about therapy. About learning to separate herself from her mother's bitterness and her father's regrets. They spent my whole childhood trapped in a marriage built on lies, Emily said. Fighting about you, about each other, about everything. I don't want to live like that. I want to build something real. That's wise. I learned it from reading about you. Dad's letter talked about how you walked away from a wedding everyone expected you to attend. How you built a whole new life in a new city. How you chose yourself when everyone wanted you to choose them. Emily looked at me intently. That takes more courage than I think I have. You have it. You're here, aren't you? Asking hard questions, facing difficult truths. That's courage. When we parted, Emily hugged me, tentative and brief but genuine. Can I contact you again sometime? She asked. I don't need a mother. I have a therapist for that. But maybe we could be, I don't know, people who know each other. I'd like that, I said, surprising myself. Over the next 5 years, Emily and I built a relationship. Not mother-daughter. We both agreed that ship had sailed, but something like mentor and mentee. She'd visit Seattle occasionally. We'd have dinner, talk about her life, her career, her relationships. She never asked about Claire or Derek. We both agreed that chapter was closed. When Emily was 24, she got engaged to a kind man named Michael who worked as a teacher. She called to tell me the news, voice full of excitement. I'm really happy for you, I said. Thank you. And Rebecca, I wanted to ask you something. Would you come to the wedding? I felt my chest tighten. Emily, I don't do weddings well. I know, but this isn't about me needing you there. It's about me wanting to show you that weddings don't have to be traumatic. That they can be joyful and real, and based on actual love instead of competition and lies. I thought about my own wedding to James, small, simple, genuine. Okay, I said. I'll come. Emily's wedding was beautiful. Simple, honest, full of love. Watching her marry Michael, seeing the way they looked at each other, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope for the next generation. After the ceremony, Emily found me during the reception. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for showing me what a healthy wedding looks like. I learned from your example. You taught me that it's okay to walk away from things that hurt you. But you also taught me through James that it's okay to trust again when you find something real. 10 years after meeting Emily, I was 70 years old. James and I were celebrating our 20th anniversary when he had a stroke. He survived, but he was never quite the same. The stroke affected his speech and mobility. He retired from his practice. I became his primary caregiver. "I'm sorry," he said one day, frustrated by his limitations. "For what?" "For becoming a burden." "You're not a burden. You're my husband. This is what partnership means." "You could have had this with Derek," James said, his words slurred but clear. "Instead you got it with me. Sometimes I wonder if you made the right choice." I looked at him, this man who'd loved me without conditions, who'd supported my healing, who'd built a life with me based on genuine respect and affection. "I made the perfect choice," I said. "Derek would have made me take care of him while resenting me for it. You're letting me take care of you while appreciating it. That's the difference between control and love." James recovered slowly. He never regained full mobility, but his mind stayed sharp and his sense of humor intact. Emily visited often during this time, helping out, bringing groceries, sitting with James so I could have breaks. "You don't have to do this," I told her. "I know. I want to." "Why?" "Because you showed me what real family looks like. Not the people who share your DNA, but the people who choose to show up for you." 15 years after meeting Emily, James died peacefully in his sleep at 76. I was 75. The funeral was small. Our close friends, Emily and her family, a few colleagues. Everyone who spoke talked about how James had dedicated his life to helping people heal from trauma, how he'd been a loving husband, how he'd made everyone around him feel valued. Emily gave a eulogy that made me cry. James wasn't my father by blood or law, but he was family. He showed me what it looks like when someone loves you without agenda, without control, without conditions. He supported Rebecca not by trying to fix her, but by giving her space to heal herself. That's real love. That's the kind of love I try to show my own family now. James, thank you for teaching us all what that looks like. After the funeral, Emily stayed with me for a week, helping me sort through James's belongings and adjust to life alone. "Are you going to be okay?" she asked before leaving. "Eventually. Right now I'm just sad." "That's allowed. I keep thinking about all the years I lost. If I'd married Derek, I would have died at 30. I got 45 more years because I walked away. 45 years with James, with meaningful work, with real relationships. 45 years Claire never got because she chose differently. She could have chosen differently at any point. She didn't. I know. But it's still sad that she didn't. 5 years after James's death at 80 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer. Treatable, the doctors said, but at my age, aggressive treatment would be difficult. "I'm 80, I told my oncologist. "I've lived a full life. I'm not interested in spending my final months in hospitals." "So you're refusing treatment?" "I'm choosing quality over quantity." I had 6 months, maybe a year. I spent that time visiting old friends, finishing projects, putting my affairs in order. Emily visited every week, bringing her children, my genetic grandchildren, though we never used that language. "Are you scared?" Emily asked during one visit. "Not of death. I'm scared of pain, of losing my dignity, of becoming a burden. But death itself? No. I've had a good life. Because you chose yourself on your wedding day. Because I chose myself every day after that. 3 months before I died, I wrote letters, to Emily, to her children, to the friends who'd supported me. To Emily I wrote, "Dear Emily, when I met you at 24 I was angry. Angry at Claire for stealing my genetic material. Angry at Derek for facilitating it. Angry that you existed as evidence of their betrayal. But you taught me something important. You can't control your origin, only your choices. You chose to seek truth. You chose to build something better than what you were given. You chose to love people who weren't obligated to love you back. You're not my daughter, I never earned that title. But you're proof that good things can come from terrible situations. That genetics aren't destiny. That choice is everything. Thank you for choosing to know me. Thank you for showing me what the next generation can be. Thank you for being the person neither of your parents were capable of being. Live well. Love generously. Choose yourself when you need to and choose connection when you can. Rebecca." I died 6 weeks later, peacefully, in hospice, surrounded by Emily and her family and the friends I'd made over 55 years of building a life I chose. Emily held my hand as I drifted away. The last thing I thought before dying was, I was 25 when I woke up in that coffin. I'm 80 now. I got 55 extra years because I walked away. Worth it.